This is how you diamond grind and seal a commercial-sized concrete floor. So first off, we're going to mask the bottoms of all the walls with some plastic masking, because later on we're going to be doing a wet grind on the floor, and this will make cleanup much easier in a little bit. Plus we're going to do it before the walls get all dusty. Since this was a pretty large job, we went ahead and rented a couple machines to go along with my 2 lighter duty machines. This larger machine we're using is to get up most of the thin set and adhesives that were down on the floor. There was a long path that was that they had some tile down, and the thin set and adhesives were on the floor, and they were just too gnarly. It would have taken too much time to remove them with the lighter duty machines. So we got the bigger machines in. It's a propane powered machine. You're just running it over the floor. It's a dry grind. It's hooked up to a vac system, and it's much more aggressive with some lower grit diamonds. I believe they were a 30 grit diamond, and it really takes that floor down really quickly. After this, we will be going over all of the floors with the lighter duty machines and a higher grit diamond. We also rented an edger to do all of the edging. As you could see, the dust shroud didn't seem to be on there, so it was kicking up a lot of dust. It was quite a cleanup after the fact, but it took down all the edges pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. So anywhere where the floor machines aren't going to be able to get to, you're going to have to do by hand. So this area I am doing with my Makita angle grinder and a diamond embedded cup wheel. The cup wheels work well to get into any sharp low spots, any corners or anything like that. You want to just go over them until the floor is flattened, and you want to also make sure that you're wearing all of your safety gear, you know, some sort of respirator, something to protect your ears, gloves and all that good stuff, and some goggles as well so nothing flies into your eyes. You get pretty dusty, but you gotta do what you gotta do. It cleans up pretty quickly. Since the whole place was getting pretty dirty, I wasn't trying to bother with any sort of dust shroud and having to be tethered to a vac system. It seemed kind of pointless after we were kicking up so much dust, so just went through and ground down any areas that the machines couldn't get to and moved on to the next step. So after all of the heavy duty grinding is done, we move on to grinding all the floors with a lighter duty machine and the 70 grit diamonds. These diamonds are less aggressive, and what they're going to do is they are going to take out all of those deep grind marks that are left over from the lower grit, very heavy duty machines that we were using earlier. So the whole floor is re-ground down with the 70 grit diamonds. Now if you notice, we are doing a wet grind on the floor, and I'll explain more about this in a little bit. But the wet grind keeps the dust down so people can start cleaning up some of the upstairs areas and getting some of that dust out, and also makes for just an easier cleanup in general. You're not tethered to a vac system or anything like that. So you just work section by section and you grind it down, and then after you're done grinding, you will shop back up all of the slurry that's left over from the diamond grinding in that area. You could use pretty much any sort of wet dry vac with a squeegee wand to vacuum up all of the slurry. If you vacuum it up right away, immediately after you do the grind, none of the slurry should stick to the floor, and it makes for much easier cleanup a little bit later. So you just go in and vac that up immediately, and the floor is good to go to the next step. The next step is cleaning. So I just dragged in the hose and I just hosed down certain areas, or you could fill up some 5-gallon buckets and pour it on the ground. Now, since we had a couple machines, the lighter duty machines, these are actually, they work really well for cleaning the floors. And these are kind of the same type of machines that you might rent at a Home Depot or something. So I just put a cleaning pad, it's similar to like a buff pad, on the bottom, and you just scrub the floor. As you see, it moves really fast. It gets up any of that dried slurry that might be left over on the floor. And then you just go in and immediately shop vac that up. After this step, the floor should be clean and ready to move on to the next step. So this is some amazing video footage from a drone doing probably the most boring part of the whole process. So what I'm doing right now is I am mopping on the Creto DPS. DPS stands for Deep Penetrating Sealer. And I put this down after I'm done with the grinding and cleaning. And what this sealer does is it soaks into the concrete, and as it cures, it permanently waterproofs the slab. Another reason why I really like using it is that you could put this down immediately after doing a wet grind, and as this product cures and crystallizes through the concrete, it will push out any residual moisture as well, which is a great feature of the sealer. So 24 hours after applying the sealer, I know that I could go in and start applying the top coat. It will neutralize the concrete, so it's pH neutral, and it also, I don't have to do a moisture testing, which is great and saves a lot of time. So this is how you apply it. You pour it down on the concrete and you mop it around. You want to work small areas, probably like 500 square feet maximum. And you keep the concrete completely wet with sealer for about 15, maybe 20 minutes max. You see any sort of excess sealer, I go ahead and chop back up. Then I pour down some water and mop that around, and then go ahead and chop back that up. What that does is it makes sure that there's no sealer residue left on the concrete. So we took a day off to let the Creto DPS cure, and now we are going to apply the sweet concrete coating. What this is a polyaspartic coating that doesn't need a base coat, so it adheres to the concrete pretty well. You don't have to use any sort of weird epoxy, and you don't mix it. As you can see, we just pour it right out of the bucket into a paint tray, and then you could go ahead and roll it right onto the concrete. You work from one side to the exit and just back roll into the last area. A couple hours later, I'm off onto the second coat. This is how you get all the edges. I just use a 3-inch roller around all the edges, and then go back in with the 18-inch roller to do the larger part of the floors. If you do see any contaminants that land in there, try to pick those up as you work your way out. And what you do is you just dip it right into the paint tray and roll a small area. You want to make sure that you're back rolling, whether it's the base coat or the top coat, you want to make sure you're back rolling it at least 2 or 3 times over. So as you see, I'm going back over it a little bit lighter and smoothing that out. What this will do, even though it does self-level, you still want to make sure that you're back rolling it nice and smooth so it comes out with a really nice glossy finish. There is a 50 grit polypropylene added to the sealer to give this floor a non-slip finish. Here's a close-up of rolling our sweet concrete coating right on as the second coat. It has that 50 grit polypropylene added into the second coat, and that's going to give it a nice non-slip finish, and it also mats out that shine just a little bit. Wow, those floors came out really nice. It was a dark gray concrete, and they did the around the post with a lighter concrete, which looked really cool and gave the floor an awesome pattern. So this is a high foot traffic coating, so it's going to look great for many years to come.